Get out. Right now. The words exploded like a bomb, slicing through the icy silence of a crumbling South Side apartment in Chicago. It was a brutal February night in 2007, the kind of night where the wind screamed through Englewood's cracked streets and snow buried every shred of hope. Inside a dim, freezing room on West 63rd Street, 16-year-old Maya Carter stood trembling, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it might shatter her ribs. Her father, Robert Carter, towered over her, his voice a roar of pure rage, his eyes burning with betrayal. You think you can disgrace this family and still have a roof over your head? You're nothing to me now. Maya's knees gave way. She crumpled to the floor, her hands clutching her faded Chicago Bulls hoodie, her knuckles white as bone. Tears streamed down her face, hot and unstoppable, but her voice was barely a whisper, choked with fear. Please, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. Her words trembled, fragile as glass, but they fell on ears sealed shut by anger. Her mother, Evelyn, sat on a sagging couch, her face hard as granite, her words sharp as a blade. Pregnant at 16? You're a walking shame, Maya. You've dragged our name through the mud. Get out before I throw you out myself. Each word stabbed into Maya's chest, deeper than the cold ever could. Can you feel the weight of that moment? Imagine being cast out into a blizzard by the people who were supposed to love you most. No mercy, no second chances, just a slammed door and a frozen heart. What would you do if you were Maya, staring down a city that doesn't care if you live or die? Stick with me, because her fight for survival is going to hit you right in the soul. Smash that like button if you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, and let's see how Maya claws her way back from the edge. The door slammed shut with a bang that echoed in her bones, the sound of her world collapsing. Maya stumbled into the night, the Chicago wind slashing her face like 1,000 tiny knives. Snow soaked her sneakers in seconds, her toes numb, her whole body shaking. She had nowhere to go, no one to call. The weight of her parents' rejection crushed her spirit. But the faint flutter in her belly reminded her why she couldn't give up. It's just you and me now, little one, she whispered through chattering teeth, her hand pressed to her stomach, her voice raw with desperate love. I'll keep you safe. I swear it. The streets of Englewood were a frozen hell that night. Maya staggered past boarded-up storefronts and flickering streetlights, her breath fogging in the frigid air, her tears freezing on her cheeks. She pounded on the door of a derelict building near Garfield Boulevard, her voice cracking with desperation. Please, just one night. I'm begging you. Beat it, kid. I don't need your trouble. A gruff voice barked from inside, slamming the door so hard it rattled in its frame. Her stomach growled, a hollow ache. She hadn't eaten since dawn, but hunger was nothing compared to the terror clawing at her chest. She stumbled into Washington Park, where the icy benches were her only refuge. Curling up against the wind, her body curled tight, like a wounded animal. She tried to shut out the cold, but the shadows moved around her, and soon 3 figures emerged from the darkness, their laughter sharp and cruel, slicing through the night like broken glass. Well, damn, look at this, one of them sneered, stepping closer. He was tall, a scar slicing down his cheek, his eyes glinting with menace. What's a little thing like you doing out here all alone? Looking for some trouble? Maya's heart slammed against her ribs, her breath hitching in panic. Please, just leave me alone, she whispered, her voice shaking as she backed away, her sneakers slipping on the ice. Leave you alone? Another laughed, his voice dripping with malice. Nah, we're just getting started, sweetheart. Fear surged through her like wildfire. Maya turned and ran, her feet slipping on the icy ground, her lungs burning as she fled for her life. Their footsteps pounded behind her, closing in, but by sheer luck, or maybe a guardian angel, she darted into a narrow alley off 55th Street and lost in the maze of shadows. Collapsing against a dumpster, her sobs tore through her chest, raw and ragged. "Why does everybody hate me?" she cried into the night, her voice breaking, swallowed by the howling wind. Her body shook, not just from the cold, but from the crushing weight of being utterly, completely alone. Dawn broke over Chicago, gray and merciless, the skyline a jagged silhouette against the storm. Maya's strength was fading fast. Her body burned with fever, her lips pale, her hands trembling so hard she couldn't feel them anymore. She didn't know how much longer she could hold on. That's when a voice, warm, steady like a lifeline, cut through the haze. "Child, what in God's name you doing out here in this cold?" Maya blinked up, her vision blurry with tears and exhaustion. Standing over her was an older black woman, her face etched with lines of kindness and worry, holding a large umbrella to shield them from the snow. This was Miss Clara Jones, a 65-year-old widow who ran Clara's Soul Food Kitchen on Cottage Grove Avenue, a South Side gem where the air smelled of fried chicken, collard greens, and cornbread, and the jukebox played old Aretha Franklin tunes. Clara had raised 3 kids alone in this unforgiving city, and the sight of Maya, broken, shivering, lost, cracked her heart wide open. I got nowhere to go," Maya mumbled, her voice barely a whisper before her knees buckled, her body giving out. Clara caught her just in time, her arms strong despite her age. "Don't you worry, baby girl. I got you," she said, her voice a balm against the storm as she half-carried Maya to her diner. Inside, the warmth hit Maya like a wave, the smell of soul food wrapping around her like a hug. Clara sat her down at a booth, placing a steaming plate of fried chicken, collard greens, and cornbread in front of her, alongside a mug of hot cocoa. "Eat up now," Clara said, her voice soft but firm, her eyes glistening with unspoken compassion. "You look like you ain't had a decent meal in days." For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Maya felt a flicker of warmth, not just from the food, but from Clara's kindness. The tears came again, but this time they were softer, tinged with gratitude. But even as she ate, the pain of her parents' betrayal gnawed at her, a wound that wouldn't heal. When Clara asked, her voice gentle as a prayer, "What happened to you, child?" Maya broke down, her voice raw, her words spilling out like blood from a cut. "They kicked me out, said I was a disgrace. I don't deserve this kindness. Miss Clara, I don't deserve anything." Clara pulled her into a hug, her arms strong and steady, her voice fierce with love. "Listen to me, child. Ain't nobody deserved to be treated like that. You got a good heart. I can see it in your eyes. And you got a baby on the way. You deserve to live, you hear me? I'm going to help you." Clara gave Maya a job at the diner, letting her wash dishes and clean tables to earn her keep. For a moment, it felt like a sanctuary, a small corner of the world where Maya could breathe. But the South Side wasn't kind to outsiders, especially a pregnant teen with no family to vouch for her. Regulars at Clara's began to whisper, their voices sharp as knives. One afternoon, a long-time customer named Big Joe, a burly mechanic with a booming laugh, pulled Clara aside, his brow furrowed with concern. "Miss Clara, you sure about keeping that girl around? Word on the street is she got herself in some real trouble. Folks say she's bad news, gonna drag your name down with her." Clara's eyes narrowed, her voice cutting through the air like steel. "Joe, I don't give a damn what folks say. That girl ain't hurt nobody. If you don't like it, you can take your business elsewhere." But the whispers turned into threats, and the threats turned into violence. One evening, as Maya took out the trash behind the diner, a group of local teens led by a kid named Tyrell cornered her in the alley. Tyrell, a wannabe gangbanger with a chip on his shoulder and a smirk that promised trouble, stepped close, his shadow looming over her. You think you can just roll up in our hood and act like you belong? We don't want your kind round here. I'm not hurting nobody, Maya said, her voice trembling as she backed away, her heart racing. Tyrell shoved her hard, sending her crashing into a pile of garbage bags, the stench of rot filling her lungs. You already messing things up, he snarled, his voice dripping with contempt. People talking about Clara's like it's a charity for trash like you. Before he could do more, Clara burst out the back door, a frying pan gripped tight in her hands, her face a storm of fury. Get away from her, Tyrell. I swear to God, I'll call the cops on you and your whole damn crew. Tyrell smirked, his eyes glinting with defiance. But he backed off, his parting words a chilling promise. Keep her if you want, old lady, but don't come crying when this place gets burned to ground. The threats weren't empty. Customers stopped coming, their absence a silent boycott. Bills piled up, a towering stack of red notices that Clara couldn't ignore. One night, Maya found her sitting at the counter, her head in her hands, her shoulders slumped under the weight of it all. I can't keep this up much longer, Maya, Clara admitted, her voice heavy with defeat. They're going to shut me down if I don't pay up soon. Maya's heart sank, guilt twisting in her gut like a knife. I'll leave, she said, her voice breaking as tears welled up. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. Clara grabbed her hand, her grip fierce, her eyes blazing with determination. You ain't going nowhere, girl. This is your home now. But Maya couldn't shake the guilt, couldn't bear the thought of Clara losing the diner that had been her life's work. That night, she packed a few belongings into a backpack, her hands trembling as she wrote a note, her words stained with tears. Miss Clara, I'm so grateful for everything you've done, but I can't let you suffer because of me. I'll find somewhere else to go. I love you so much. Maya, she slipped out into the darkness, her heart shattering with every step. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered to her unborn child, her voice a broken promise. I gotta protect you and Miss Clara. Maya found a cheap motel off Lake Shore Drive, a grimy place where the walls smelled of mold, and the clerk didn't care who you were as long as you paid up front. But her money ran out fast, faster than she'd hoped, and soon she was back on the streets, her belly growing, her hopes shrinking. She tried to find work, handing out flyers on Michigan Avenue, washing cars in parking lots. But everywhere she went, doors slammed in her face, their rejections sharp as slaps. We don't need nobody like you, they'd say, their eyes lingering on her belly, their voices thick with judgment. One afternoon near Millennium Park, a woman accused her of stealing a wallet, her voice shrill as she pointed at Maya with a trembling finger. A crowd gathered, their eyes cold, their whispers venomous. I didn't take anything. Maya cried, clutching her bag as a man tore from her hands, dumping her meager belongings onto the pavement. They found nothing, no wallet, no proof, but the damage was done. Get out of here, thief, the woman shouted, her face red with rage, and Maya fled, her cheeks burning with humiliation, her heart breaking all over again. That night, curled up in an alley behind a Dunkin' Donuts on Michigan Avenue, Maya hit rock bottom. She hadn't eaten in 2 days, her stomach a hollow pit of pain. Her body ached, her fever rage and despair clawed at her soul, darker and colder than Chicago wind. I can't do this anymore, she sobbed, her voice a broken whisper as she held her belly, her tears soaking into the concrete. I'm so sorry, baby. I failed you. But then, footsteps, soft but steady, cutting through the night. A flashlight beam pierced the darkness, and a familiar voice called out, trembling with relief, Maya. Oh, Lord Jesus, there you are. It was Clara. Her coat was dusted with snow, her face etched with exhaustion and worry, her eyes glistening with tears. She dropped to her knees beside Maya, pulling her into a desperate, trembling embrace. You foolish girl. I've been looking for you everywhere. Why'd you leave like that? Maya broke down, her sobs racking her body, her voice raw with pain. I didn't want to ruin your life. I'm just trouble, nothing but trouble. Clara held her tight, her own tears falling as she pressed her cheek to Maya's hair. You ain't trouble, Maya. You're family. And family don't give up on each other. Never. Her voice cracked, but was fierce, a promise forged in love. I'd rather lose the diner than lose you. You hear me? In that moment, in the cold, dark alley, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in months. A spark of hope, small but fierce, flickering to life in her chest. She clung to Clara, her sobs softening into shaky breaths, and for the first time, she believed she might survive this. 10 years later, in the summer of 2017, Maya stood behind the counter of a bustling little coffee shop on West Division Street in Wicker Park, Chicago. The shop, called Lila's Brew, was named after her daughter, Lila, now a bright and spirited 9-year-old with a smile that could light up the darkest day. With Clara's unwavering support, Maya clawed her way out of the shadows, building a life she'd never thought possible. A life filled with warmth, laughter, and love. The shop was a haven of joy, its walls painted with murals of Chicago landmarks, the Bean, the L train, the skyline at dusk. A playlist of classic Motown hits filled the air, and the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the sweet tang of homemade blueberry muffins. Customers didn't just come for the drinks. They came for Maya's story, a tale of resilience and hope that had spread to the neighborhood like wildfire. You gotta try the latte at Lila's Brew, they'd say, and ask Maya about how she got here. Girl's a fighter. One morning, as Maya was serving a tray of cappuccinos, the door chimed, and a frail woman stepped inside. Her hair was gray, her shoulders stooped, her eyes heavy with a decade of regret. It was Evelyn, Maya's mother. "Maya, it's me," she said, her voice trembling, barely above a whisper. Maya froze, her heart slamming against her ribs, a storm of emotions roaring inside her. "What you doing here?" she said, her voice low, sharp, cutting through the hum of the shop. "After 10 years, you think you can just walk back into my life like nothing happened?" Evelyn's shoulders slumped, tears spilling down her weathered cheeks. "I know I don't deserve it. I don't deserve you, but I can't live with this guilt no more. I came to say I'm sorry." Her voice broke, her hands trembling as she clasped them together, a plea in her eyes. "Sorry." Maya's voice cracked, raw with anger, raw with pain. "You threw me out on the street, left me to fend for myself, to freeze, to starve, and now you want to say sorry." Her hands shook as she gripped the counter, her chest heaving, the wounds of a decade ripping open all over again. Lila, who'd been sweeping the floor, tugged at her mom's hand, her wide eyes darting between the two women. "Mama, who's this lady?" she asked, her voice small but curious. Maya knelt down, pulling Lila close, her voice softening but still edged with steel. "This your grandma, baby, but she got a lot of explaining to do." Over the next few months, Evelyn worked to prove her remorse, her every action a silent apology. She came to the shop every day, helping out behind the counter, bringing Lila little gifts, a stuffed teddy bear, a book of fairy tales, and sharing stories of Maya's childhood, her voice thick with longing. Slowly, so slowly, Maya's walls began to crumble, the ice around her heart melting under the weight of her mother's quiet persistence. One night, in the stillness of the shop after closing, Maya sat down with Evelyn, her voice steady but heavy with the past. "Why, Mama? Why'd you turn your back on me when I needed you most?" Evelyn broke down, her sobs echoing in the empty shop, her voice raw with regret. "I was scared, Maya. Your daddy and me. We cared too much about what folks thought, about keeping our heads high in a neighborhood that loves to tear you down. We were wrong, so damn wrong. After you left, he never forgave himself. Died 2 years ago, still wishing he'd gone after you. I couldn't lose you two, not again." Her hands reached for Maya's, trembling, desperate. "I ain't got much time left, baby girl. Let me make it right." Maya listened, her heart torn between rage and a deep, aching longing for peace. The memories flooded back. Those cold nights, the hunger, the fear. But so did the love she once felt for the woman sitting before her. "I can't forget what happened," she finally said, her voice breaking, tears slipping down her cheeks. "But I'll try to forgive. For Lila. For me." Evelyn sobbed, pulling Maya into a hug that felt like it could stitch together a decade of broken pieces, her arms trembling with gratitude. "Thank you, baby," she whispered. "I swear I won't let you down again." A year later, Lila's Brew hosted a block party to celebrate its anniversary, the street alive with music and laughter. Maya, Evelyn, Clara, and Lila stood together, surrounded by friends, neighbors, and customers who become family. Maya took the mic, her voice steady, her eyes shining with pride. "Life ain't easy. It'll knock you down, break you, make you think you can't get back up. But if you don't give up, you'll find hope waiting on the other side." I want to thank Miss Clara for saving me when I had nothing left to give, and my mama for coming back to make things right. The crowd erupted in cheers, music blaring. Stevie Wonder's "Isn't She Lovely?" filling the air as kids danced and neighbors clapped along. Under Chicago sky, a new family was born, not perfect but whole, stitched together with love, forgiveness, and the kind of strength that only comes from surviving the darkest nights. Maya's story became a beacon for others, a testament to the power of second chances, the beauty of love, and the truth that even in the deepest shadows, there's always a light waiting ahead. So what do you think? Could you forgive someone who broke your heart like that? Drop a comment below. I'm reading every single one. And if this story hit you in the feels, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more stories like Maya's. Let's keep this journey going.